the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. We have an exciting show for you tonight. It's Jock Brothers time. We thank you all for joining. Our topic tonight is natural birth. We have to take time to reverence the womb. Our show tonight and next week will be natural birth. Tonight we'll be speaking with a doula, and next week we will be speaking with a midwife. Before we get started with that, I wanted to start by introducing my co-hosts. Let me introduce two of my brothers. Our first one is my brother. He's my friend. He's a spiritual minister, a father, a mentor, a friend. He's my brother. He's your brother, Brother Khalweed Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for watching another episode of Jock Brothers. Wow. Spiritual minister, brother. You threw me off with that one, brother. But we have a great show tonight. Two sisters on a very important topic. I'm looking for you. I want you to enjoy. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Next, my brother. He's a great business mind, entrepreneur. He's a father. He's a mentor. He's a soldier and also a friend. My brother, your brother, Brother Jackie Muhammad.
Give me more. Give me more. Assalamu alaikum, Jock Nation. We have a dynamic show for you tonight. We are touching something that's unusual to talk about, I believe, especially with brothers in particular. But this is a dynamic topic, and we definitely want to share it with you tonight. So look, Jock Nation, we ask that you like and share this post. Share it to all your friends and family, because we definitely want to correct any wrongs that we have been experienced in this world of medicine. We definitely want you to support the Jock Nation, Jock Brothers. You see our Cash App scrolling at the bottom, $ Jock Bros. We have our youth initiative still. We are working with the youth. This weekend in particular, we are taking the youth on a fishing expedition. And we're asking you to support as much as possible. $1 helps, definitely. But every week we're striving to do something with our young boys. So we have our youth initiative still going. So we ask that you support our youth initiative. All right. Thank you, Brother Ahmed.
Thank you, Brother Jackie. Thank you, Brother Jackie. All right, let's get the show started. Tonight, we have two sisters on to join us tonight. We are Jock Brothers, our fathers. These sisters are mothers, and we all strive under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan, and strive to dive into knowledge and wisdom of God. And dealing with that, we want to dive into the natural birth. So we brought on two sisters who will help us, guide us in some of the aspects of natural birth. My sister that I want to introduce you to tonight, who is Devana. She is a full spectrum doula, a community health worker, a peer lactation counselor, and an overall educator. As a mother of 7, she is passionate about conception, pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. It is her goal to educate her community about the effects of their health and environment on all topics above, so that we can learn to prevent as much as we like to treat. Once we teach the mother, once we heal the mother, we teach the community and heal our community, allowing for us to be truly unified. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at Mama Doula Mama with the 2 A's at the end. Please welcome with a strong Jock Brothers round of applause, my sister, your sister, Sister Devana X.
Okay, we lost Devana then.
Oh, we lost her?
It looks that way.
Okay, well, we're waiting to get her back, we can introduce our sister who joined us tonight. We asked Sister Devonna to invite uh, one of her sisters, her patients, one who she helped give a natural birth to. Let's introduce our sister, Sister Akila. Comment.
Assalamu alaikum. I see Sister Divana is back on, but yes, I was one of the patients of Sister Divana, and she was an amazing, amazing doula. So I'm sure she'll go into more detail now.
Yes,
Assalamu alaikum. I was still here, but for some reason you guys couldn't hear me.
we couldn't
So
see you
yes,
either.
my name is Sister Devonna. I've been a doula. I tell people I've been a doula my whole life. I used to leave work when family members would have babies and tell my job I got an emergency. And the emergency was to be the support for anybody that was, having a baby. I was the one that would walk with people around the corner and everything like that. And it wasn't until after I had my own personal birth and I dealt with a lot of different things that I realized the need for support as a birthing mother was so important. So I am so thankful to Allah that my life experiences, good or bad, brought me to the place that I am now. So I'm happy to be here with you guys all.
Happy to have you.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you. We already introduced Sister Akila, so we can get right into the questions. So I know you just gave an intro on getting into the role of a doula. Was there, after giving birth, your first children, was that in a hospital, the first few births, or were the births of your children done naturally?
So I have a very unique story. I actually had 5 C-sections. My first births were 5 C-sections because I kept trying to have vaginal births after a few, but the doctors lied and did a lot of fear tactics that prevented me from having vaginal births. It was after my 5th child, on my 6th child, Allah put me in a situation to where I was basically going to go against this fear that I had. So I ended up having a natural birth after cesarean. Started off at home, got to the hospital at 10 centimeters, did that completely naturally by the grace of Allah. And my 7th child was an at-home birth in Mexico, completely medicine-free.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Well, I wanted to say something that Brother Jackie just said a little earlier. Before any of the brothers get up and leave the room, it was something that my wife put on me that we need to take, as men, we need to take time to get more in tune with our wives when they're pregnant, and not only when they're giving birth, but all through all parts of it. So how do you prepare families when when a woman becomes pregnant or is preparing herself to become pregnant?
I think education is the biggest thing, right? So having people understand the process of birth, the changes that the mother is going to go through, mentally, physically, spiritually, it's also it's just all a process. So I really educate the family on how birth looks, the different stages. I talk to them about spiritual aspects, how to give birth to a God. I really, it doesn't matter even if they're Muslim or not. I'm constantly reiterating the principles of how to give birth to a God to the family, the importance of keeping the mother protected physically, mentally, spiritually. So we go through like childbirth education. We go through affirmations. We talk to women about how they feel in regards to their birth. What are their fears? What are their worries? We ask them, how was your mother's birth? How was your sister's birth? But we have the husband there. We have the father there. I had a previous client and he sat in. I taught him some different movements on how to help his wife when she was in labor, showed him how to shake the apple tree, like some of these different positions. And that really helped him to show up for her.
And now this question,
Oh, well. I think we going real fast. What exactly is a doula? I
Okay.
want to go back. Yeah. Explain what is a doula, first of all.
So a doula is basically it's basically a woman's support while she's in labor. So you have a midwife, right? A midwife is similar to like the OBGYN. If any of you guys have had hospital births, you know how the doctor walks in right when the baby is coming and that's when they're there to catch the baby. The doula, in a sense, is not completely like a nurse, but when the nurse is there to like change the mother around, do all of those things, a doula sits in that place. But a doula also provides support like spiritually. So when the woman's feeling unsure of herself, she helps her. So we have a lot of techniques that we will use to calm the mother, to help the mother move along, transgress through her labor. But also we do a lot of education. We're there with the mother during, because we want to let her know this is what's to expect. We want her to be prepared. So we do a lot of techniques where we're talking, we're educating, but once it gets to birth, we have a lot of hands-on spiritual type, kind of like your mom, like when the mom would come and be like, baby, it's okay, you can do this. But we come with a little bit more knowledge as far as if something's not working, we know to say, hey, get up out the bed, sit on the ball. And we're also big advocates. The fact that us as being a black doula, I have to be an advocate. So when that doctor is in there trying to cut on my patient or telling my patient lies, the same things I had to deal with not having anybody, I'm the one that's in there like the vanguard. I'm the one standing in the background saying, can she have some more time? Can you come back later? Looking at the father, giving him a look to let him know, hey, get this doctor up out of here because we need to talk a little. Or reminding the mother of the things that she wants, because when she's in pain, she can't remember those things. All she's reacting to is her pain.
Oh wow! So you're educating the mother and the father during the time of birth of what's going on, the terms that the doctors are using and whatnot, and they're trying to, and it seems like they're trying to do these C-sections. It seems like it's a money grab. It must be a money grab, the C-section, because everyone seems to be having them now. I don't know if they're saying that we can lose the baby, or using fear tactics and whatnot. So having a doula there is someone who not only is emotional support but educational support as well, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. I
uh,
mean, C-sections, I want to say before you, C-sections have their place with certain people, right? Like there's certain people who have medical necessities that they need a C-section, but it is a money grab. And it's also a control tactics because doctors a lot of times like to play God. So some of them will say, oh, I got a golfing tournament that I got to go to. So you're due on this date, but I'm on vacation. So let's schedule you for this day, or let's induce you, knowing that inducing a woman that's not ready could cause a C-section. So C-sections have their places, but sometimes it's a control thing. So they can control their beds, they can do things like that. And sometimes it's money. But of course they have their place, but they're at a high rate now due to those other things that I mentioned.
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
So inducing labor, then you're not an advocate of inducing labor, huh?
No, because my first birth was induced at 40 weeks with my daughter because they said she didn't meet something. I was in labor for almost 3 days. They gave me medication. They increased it really quickly, more than my body could handle, which forced my child's heart rate to go down, to have D cells, because my body was not ready. Doctors don't fully understand what it is that sets off the body, right? What it is, that God gene or whatever it is in the body that tells a woman's body, go ahead and go into labor. They don't understand that. They've admitted they completely don't understand that. They understand the chemicals. They understand what starts it, but they don't understand what happens in the body that causes it. So, like me, for just the example, I am a woman who has to go at least almost 41 in 3 days. I go almost 2 weeks past due date, which they don't find acceptable. But after I was allowed to do that with my last two births, I had natural births and I had them quickly, 5 hours and under, no medication. But because they just set these limitations on us, right? And they do things that they want done, they don't allow that. So that's why I had all these C-sections, is because people were rushing me. So inductions, what happens is when you induce a woman, you can cause a lot of pressure or issues with the woman's body so that it won't respond. And there's a study where they say most of those inductions do end up in C-sections, especially if you're not inducing a woman that's already like dilated or at a certain portion.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Well,
you.
let me ask you a question. How do you go about finding a doula? Like, I mean, is it just something that because I don't think any women in my family had ever got a doula when they went through pregnancy, and so it was the here like last like 2 weekends ago I heard midwife and heard doula, and so I told my brothers about it and they said let's do a show on it, but it ain't necessarily I guess a skill that I hear about a lot. So I mean, how do the people go about finding doulas, or is it out there, real big or real popular? Can you talk to that?
Yes, sir, it is. You just have to kind of we have to we have to do a little bit of our research. If you go on Facebook, you could search for Black doulas of color. There's a group on Facebook called Doulas of Color. You can look for Black doulas. There are certain registries that will pop up. If I would have to forward the link to you guys, but there's registries, birth workers of color, Black birth workers that you can look for online, and they have a list of birth workers in your area. I think Black midwives. I'll have to look. I think believe it's called Black midwives, but specifically has a registry. I mean, excuse me, not registry, a directory of women, and she breaks it down based upon states where you can find lactation counselors, doulas. All the birth workers that are needed for our community, you can find it that way. But the quickest way is just go on your Facebook and look for doulas of color, look for Black doulas, whatever it is that you're looking for, and they'll pop up and you can join the groups.
So let me ask you this also. Then, what percentage if you have that number of births use doulas?
I don't have that percentage. The thing is that I don't think it's as much as it should be, because in our community, I would say we've put this large thing on not paying for certain things. And people a lot of times pay for like baby showers, shoes, things like that. And so it could not, it's accessible to everybody, but sometimes the importance of the doula is not really expressed like it's very important. So the thing is, it costs. It could cost anywhere from $750 flat. That's probably entry level doulas, up to somewhere around 2,000, 2,500, depending upon what they're charging, what they're giving to you, what services they're providing. But really, if you think about it, you're pregnant 10 months. $2,500 is not a lot, but people have to see the importance of things before they're willing to pay that amount.
Mm-hmm.
So you're with basically the patient throughout the term of the pregnancy. It ain't just we about the last throughout the term. Okay.
So the moment she calls me and says, "Hey, I'm pregnant," if she says she's 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. I am with her all the way until 6 weeks postpartum. We even do two visits after she's had the baby just to check up on her.
Mm.
So that's a long time. So it really is valuable. It's just like what you guys are doing is so awesome, because people have to know the importance of it before they're willing to pay for it. If you don't really think it's important, you're like, "Oh, I could do it," they're not going to pay. A lot of people are not going to pay that amount of money.
So what about someone? Have you ever had a patient who was on bed rest, who was given medical bed rest from the doctors? I don't know what the term. I don't know what the term would be, but it was where they had to be in bed their entire pregnancy. Are you familiar with that?
Restricted to a bed. Okay.
Yeah, what you said is you're correct. Bed rest is the correct term to use for a woman who she's been put on bed rest. I have not personally had a client that was on bed rest. I am a student midwife. I'm not completing my training right now, but for 3 years I was a student midwife. So I dealt with a lot of different clients who had cerclages and things like that, who had to have a stitch put in that would prevent them from going into preterm labor. And so
Right.
that's women who need to be put on bed rest, right? Because they have this chance of going into preterm labor and they want to keep the baby in as long as possible. A
Right.
doula would be great for them, because when you're at home by yourself,
Yeah.
you need some support. And it's really important. Like, remember, we're not just talking about the physical, we're talking about the mental and the spiritual. And so sometimes when women are stuck in a hospital, stuck in a bed, or they could be in the hospital, some are put on bed rest in the hospital and some are put on bed rest at home.
Sister Keela, did I pronounce it right?
That's correct.
So, what enlightened you to a doula?
So, me and Sister Divana, we were in the same Vanguard class, and she told me that she was training to be a doula, and that she's, been working with, helping mothers with babies for a while. And because I was pregnant with my first child, I was like, well, you can be my doula. And so that's pretty much what it was. But she was telling me, and she's correct when she told you guys that she educates. She truly does educate. I remember going to her house one day and talking to her, and she basically was telling me about her stories with how she had those 5 C-sections. And I believe you had just had your 6th baby naturally, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that was her first natural birth. And so the blessing in that is that because she had that experience, she had just had the baby. Because this was 5 years ago. So your baby now is probably what, 6, 7?
He's 6.
6, yeah. So yeah, she had just had the baby, and so she was able to give me her expertise on both sides, what it was like having the C-section and the hospital and the doctors pressuring her and telling her lies and stressing her out and all those things. So she was able to tell me the psychological part of that medical field, and she was able to tell me how it was to give birth naturally. So I was able to hear both sides of the spectrum because of her experience. Sometimes as women, or just in general, women and men, we go through things, and Allah allows us to go through things. And in the moment, it might not feel like, like, why do I have to go through this? But she is a testimony that because she went through those things, it makes her that much more of a better doula, because now she has experience on both ends. And so she gave me a lot of education. She taught me about, the little bouncy ball. She was basically telling me a lot of good information. And so that's how she became my doula. And I did not know much about doulas before I met her.
Right.
I, like you all were saying, it wasn't something that was that popular. In my world, but I had heard of it, but it was very just something that I wasn't necessarily used to. I knew about the OBGYNs. I've heard the word midwife, but doula was something that I wanted to know more about. I think I knew that Erykah Badu was a doula, but besides those things, it was kind of hazy as to exactly what it was. So I did the same thing that you guys did. I asked her, well, what do you guys do? Like, what does a doula do? Like, what all can I get in my doula package? Like, what is that? Like, do you come to my house? Like, what do you do? And so it was, now that I had a doula, and it was a perfect time as well, because for me, I didn't have a whole lot of people around me during my pregnancy. It was my husband. I did have a baby shower, but I believe I was in my 3rd trimester by the time I had Sister Divana as a doula. I don't know, was it 2nd or 3rd? Probably think it was the third trimester, that I know it was a little later in my pregnancy. And so I had already did first trimester, pretty much second trimester. And it was either the end of second trimester or the beginning of the third trimester that me and Sister Divina linked up as her being my doula. So yeah, it was a really cool experience and a really cool process.
What was the conversation between you and your family once you made that decision? Was it the in-laws, the parents? Did anybody want you to do something different?
No, I think that it was more so, I don't even think they knew that I had a doula. I mean, my husband knew, but for the most part, a doula for me, like Sister Divina was more like a sister who had the skills of a doula. So it wasn't like I was like making an announcement like, hey everybody, I got a doula, and put it on Facebook, you know. So they didn't know, like nobody knew that I had a doula really. So except for my husband and a couple close friends, but besides that, yeah, they didn't know. And I don't know, but I'm hoping that our people aren't that opposed to doulas when it comes to help, you know, because if we were to properly explain what a doula is, I don't think that people would be opposed to it, you know. It's not like they're christening the baby or anything like that, you know. So because then that might be a problem, but you know, because they're really a helper and they're assisting and they're educating, I don't know many people who are against people having doulas at all.
It just sounds like when we talked about it, in my mind it conjure up like slavery during the time of slavery, and you know what I mean. It's like, okay, we trying to go back and grab what our ancestors used to do and whatnot, and bring it into modern time because we don't want the devil. You know, we don't want this white man stuff, and it kind of brings that mindset. But just listening to you all speak about it, you know, it's so needed. It seems, I mean, as men, like what me and Ahmed was speaking of, you know, we was like, you know, we're doing those times like we're no good. We just we don't know anything. We just like sitting in the library, or we sitting around. Maybe you might hold your wife's hand, but you don't know what's going on as a brother. Like, we don't get that type of education. So to hear you all talk about it now, you know, and then me looking back at, you know, and I'm like, wow, I needed a doula to talk to me, to, you know, to even relate to my wife even better as she's having the children, you know, because she went through a lot, and I wasn't, you know, I wasn't as strong as I should have been with her. So I think how we need to market it better. You know, I don't know if that's a correct term, but you know, we need to get it out there what you really do. You know, what do you really do? So, I mean, is there any talk on that? How we get this word out?
Yeah, how do we educate ourselves?
Yeah, how do we educate ourselves on it? Right. That's perfect.
I think, like, as far as educating yourself, I think researching what I did, like anytime I'm looking for something, I'd like to do cross comparisons. When I want something, I'll research and read 3 different articles. They have different peoples like DONA. So that's the DONA Association. That's an association that basically certifies a whole bunch of not midwives, doulas on like not an international, like it's kind of like the Department of Health and Human Services, kind of something like that. But basically, it's just an organization that certifies doulas. It has information like on what doulas do and things like that. But there's so many different ways. There's so many different organizations for doulas that you guys could research, you know, via the internet. But I really think what we have to do is actually, like you said, get out there and market it, but not market it just to get money. We need to market the importance of what a doula does, because a lot of people will say, oh, can you deliver my baby? And I'm like, I'm not a midwife yet. I'm a doula. I support you, but I don't deliver the baby. So there is some misconceptions behind what a doula is. And so we need to get this education out. But like you said, we have to educate both sides, because the father also, especially if he's the one paying for the doula, he needs to know what the doula is going to do. Because he's like, look, we got a baby coming. We got all these other extra fees. How is she going to help us? What is she bringing to the table? What is she doing for us? So I think what we really have to do is just like put some different workshops out there. Like that's what I'm trying to do in the community. I try to do like workshops, small little things that are for free for the community, telling them the importance of having a birth team. And so, but we all can just do a little part and, you know, market these different things. Like if you have a page, like I told you, there's doulas of color. People can share that on their Facebook page. Any of those little, or any of the doulas in the nation that say that they're doulas in the area, share their Facebook pages, share their pages with family. But I feel like in as far as in the nation, I would like for us to have some type of directory for ourselves as well, so that we know who's in, you know, who's available too. Because I just feel like it's not talked about enough, because the hospital is not always the best place. It could be a hostile environment. And so we just need this education so we can know how to navigate it.
I would also.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, what was your next question?
Oh, I was just gonna touch on. Now I know when a woman gets pregnant, she goes through Lamaze classes and gets prepared for the birth. But the doula, from if I'm understanding from my research, that you spiritually, emotionally, morally help her and guide her through, and even with the healing process from postpartum depression and her healing emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You do that as well, right?
Yes, we do. So some people do ceremonies at the end of postpartum called closing the bones, and they wrap this material around and it helps to close the body up after birth. Some of them do what they call Bangkok wraps, which is wrapping a woman's stomach to help secure her with, you know, some people do womb massages. Like doulas have a lot of different side talents that they bring into the process. Some do herbs, some do take the placenta and turn it into capsules. There are so many different things. So when I say that base of what I gave you, there's still a million other things that doulas in their own specialty will bring to you. Some do postpartum massages, some are chiropractors. There is just so many different things that you could get from a doula, and I think it's just valuable.
What I was going to say is that as far as going back to what Brother Jackie was saying about how a lot of times the husbands don't really know what to do. In my experience, as far as having Sister Divana as a doula, she was like a support system. She was, because it was our first time having a child. When I went into labor, I had been studying a lot and, you know, educated a lot about the process. And so I had went into labor at midnight. I didn't know it was labor, but I just remember feeling a cramp in my back. And that was the first time that ever happened. So I was like, that's an interesting Braxton Hicks. And so then I just went to sleep. And then over time, as I was asleep, it just started getting more and more intense. And I woke up out of my sleep and I had to go to the restroom, and I came back. And then eventually, because in my mind, I was thinking that, oh God, labor is like hours upon hours upon hours. So I don't want to wake my husband up, because I know that he's going to be up forever if he, you know, once he wakes up. So I'm on the floor on all fours, like moaning, like, And so he wakes up, of course, and he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Because I didn't want him to get up, because in my mind, again, this is our first birth, so I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't want him to be tired, because it might be a long day. So I'm just like, yeah, you know. But I also knew that there would be a point, because I had studied it. There's a point in labor where I think it's called the transitional point, where you can't talk anymore because you're either in a lot of pain and you have to concentrate, and you just can't even really muster up the energy to communicate a whole lot of information. So that's when I text Sister Divana. No, I text my husband. He was in the bed, but I text him her number. And then I text Sister Divana that, I don't know if I said anything, but I might have texted her like, Phil might have to call you or something. I don't remember exactly what I texted her. But of course it happened the way that was. I was not able to communicate. So my husband had to call Sister Divana, and she was able to guide us through that moment. I got in the tub, and she told my husband, she was able, going back to what Brother Jackie said, she was able to guide him in what to do, because I was no good at this point. I was just trying to focus. And so she was talking on the phone to him, guiding him, telling him to get the contractions app, telling him how to time the contractions. And then the last thing she said, I remember, she said, how long? She said, when did this start? And I was like, midnight or something like that. And mind you, it was like 7 or 8 in the morning at this point. So it had been like 8 hours. She's like, get her to the hospital. And so he starts running around he starts literally, I guess they become irrational, but he started to he started to take clothes out of the washing machine and putting them in the dryer. It was like he was doing stuff that didn't make sense.
Right.
And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, we need to go to the car. And so he was like running around, putting stuff in the washing machine, putting it in the dryer, taking it out. He didn't know what to do. Right. And so the interesting thing is, so we rushed to the car, and Sister Divana was there right when we got to the hospital. So we got there at the exact same time. So Sister Divana was not playing, okay? And so that really helped me, because it helped my husband, because again, we didn't know what's going on. So we went through the emergency room, and because I was in labor, they let us go straight to the back. And she met me back there because my husband had to park the car. And then once I got into the room, it wasn't long, she was able to tell me I was turned backwards on the bed, not laying down, but like turned with my, like almost hugging the back of the bed. So she was telling me how to sway my hips, how to move so that the baby can, I guess, start moving down. And she was able to, and so then my husband was able to come back in the room after he parked the car. And at one point, there was no doctors in the room. It was just Sister Divana and my husband. And then I started trying to push. And so Sister Divana said, are you trying to push? Are you pushing? And I was like, yes. She told my husband, go get the doctor. And so he ran out the room, got the doctor. By the time that doctor came in, because when I got there, they said I was only 6 centimeters dilated. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh no, I have hours upon hours until I'm but no, I think I got there around, I want to say we got there around, it seemed like 9 a.m. She was born at 10:53 a.m. So it was very quick. Once we got there, she was like out. So, but Sister Divana was able to help me and to talk calmly to me and give me direction, while the nurses were trying to give me direction, but I was more so trying to listen to Sister Divana's voice. So a doula is very helpful in that they know, kind of what you want. They know what your birthing plan was. She knew I didn't want any medicine. She knew I didn't want the epidural. She knew all those things. So it's really helpful. And again, it's helpful for the husband, because a lot of times, especially if it's their first child, they don't know what to do.
Right.
And so they need somebody to guide them, because usually the woman, we're trying to focus on giving birth. And so we need their help. But how can they help us if they don't know what to do?
Right.
So people have to understand that a doula is not just for the woman, but it's also to help the man feel like they are contributing in some type of way, feel like they can help, or you know what I mean, or do something, or at least understand what's going on. So it's really important just all around. It's not just for the woman, it's definitely for the fathers as well.
Well, I really appreciate that story because it gives me a idea of just how valuable the doula is. My question to you, Sister Vanna, like, are you welcome? Like you receive well when you go into the delivery room with the patient, by the nurses or by the doctors because of
Yeah.
the amount of knowledge you have?
No, I've had these experiences where I had to advocate and fight with doctors because they didn't like that I was educating and making the patients know, like, just because they're the doctor. I always tell my patient, excuse me, not my patients, the clients, I say, remember, you're paying them. They're providing you a service. So at the end of the day, if there's something that you don't want, you don't have to do it. All you have to sign is a, what is it called? Acting basically against medical advice, right? And they don't like us telling the clients that because they want the clients to think that what they say is the end of it. So when Akila was having her birth, I remember the nurses popping in saying, get off your hands and knees. You're going to kill the baby. And I looked at her.
Wow.
Look at the medical profession. They trying to get us up.
They try to get we can't hear or see you again.
Yeah, we can't see you, Sister Devonna. But shout out to Sister Akila husband who knew it was time to wash a load of clothes.
That was insane. I'll never forget.
Shout out to my brother.
I was like, he is putting clothes in the washing machine.
Shout out to my brother.
So did she help you to get control of your body? Was that something that she helped you with? Because I know sometimes, when you was telling the story, you just losing control.
Yeah, I was more so, I wanted, because see, when you don't know, if this is your first child, a lot of times you're going off of what you've been watching on YouTube or watching on TV or what you've been learning. So my mind was like, okay, this is how things are supposed to go, or I know I could turn this way or turn that way. And so when I turned, when I was on my knees, like on the bed facing this way, it was because I had seen on YouTube that this woman, she came through the emergency room and they allowed her to give birth on her all fours because the baby was coming out. And it could have been because the baby was coming out so fast. But in my mind, I was like, if they let her, because I didn't want to give birth on my back, because I know that that's not the natural way that women should be giving birth. That's a Western way of giving birth, is laying down, but it goes against, gravity to do that. And so because in my mind, I wanted to be able to give birth more upright, because I felt like, well, I've seen it being done before, and I don't want to give birth laying on my back because that's Western and I don't really want that. So that's what I was playing in my mind. But Sister Devonna, what I was telling them is that when this is your first child and you don't really know like what to expect, you're going off of like what you've seen on TV or what you've seen on YouTube, plus whatever education that you've gotten. So that's why, because he was saying, did you help me get in control of my body? But yeah, so she was helping me to kind of get more so in the moment, and not so much, for me, not so much thinking about what I saw on YouTube, or because my situation might be different, because like what she was saying, my doctors the nurses weren't letting me give birth on my all fours, but I felt like I should have. And honestly, I believe I should have been able to, because I ended up with a 3rd-degree tear. And so when you have tears, they have to stitch you up and all that. But I just feel like, because she was a small baby, she was 5 pounds, I feel like I shouldn't have torn that much. And I feel like I wouldn't have torn that much if they had let me stay in that position. But they were like, no, you have to turn around. You have to turn around. And they just kept saying it over and over again. I was like, oh, they're not going to let me do it. So I just eventually, once one of my contractions lessened, then I was able to turn around. And so they got what they wanted, but I ended up with a 3rd-degree tear. So,
so how important, Sister Devonna, is positioning? How important is positioning during birth?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Positioning is the most important thing that you could think of when it comes to babies, because babies have to be in a certain position in alignment with the mother's belly. So the back of the baby, their back needs to be to the mother's stomach, right? You don't want a baby facing the other way around. And so some positions can help that baby move into certain areas. Also, if you have a baby that is too big, right, it all depends upon the structure of the mother's pelvis and all these different things, but different positions help different things. So positioning is very important. Like if a baby has too big of shoulders, you may do something. Is it the Webster? No, not. It's called Mick something. So it's called McRoberts. So the woman may have to go on her back and put her legs very far apart because the baby's shoulders are stuck. There's just different things. Positioning is something that doctors really don't tell patients about, as far as the baby's position in the stomach and the positions that they do to have babies. Working against gravity, laying on your back is one of the worst positions that you can do because you're working against gravity. The baby's trying to go down, but you're on your back. So positions like hands and knees, squatting, all of those things are important. And so when I first had Akila as my client, I wasn't there yet with my experience. So I didn't advocate for her the same way. Because she was in the hospital and I didn't want to hurt her. But when I had my baby right before her, they tried to take me down the stairs on, the bed. And they were trying to tell me what to do. And I said, you're not taking me anywhere. And they're like, well, the baby's head's popping out. And I was like, that's not the baby's head. You don't know what you're talking about. You guys basically work on the ambulance. I know what my body's supposed to do. Leave me alone. So they tried to drag me down the stairs on the gurney anyway. So I grabbed both sides of the stairwell and was like, if you try to move me, there's going to be a problem. I'm not going anywhere. And so that's the type of things you have to do because they try to bully you. And I shouldn't have had to do that in labor. But even when I got inside the hospital and they said, lay back, I said, I'm not laying back for anyone. This is my 6th baby. I'm going to have this vaginal birth. I don't care what you guys say. So I didn't want that for her because I had to fight through my whole birth process. And I didn't want that for her. And so I didn't know. I just was like, okay, come on, Akila, let's just do it, because I didn't want her to experience a traumatic birth, because in a sense that was almost traumatic for me, that I was going toes with all these medical professionals. I had to go against the ambulance drivers. I had to go against the nurses. I had to go against the doctors, all so that I could birth in a position that was comfortable for me.
You said that was almost traumatic for you. This is just a Black experience, man. We took, it's like you taking that so light, but that's such a big deal of what you just described. And if the husband is educated properly, then he can move those nurses to the side and we can handle this around the corner, because my wife don't need to hear this conversation, what I'm finna tell you. What I'm about to tell you, and straighten you out, how you're handling her. Because this is so critical, listening to you all. And we need to be educated on this. This is
That's right.
So, but it's always a female, what me and Brother Ahmed was speaking of, because we as males, we don't get educated on this. This is the sisters, we'll let them handle it, we'll go over here. But really we need to know that, okay, well, your wife need to be in a certain position. She needs to, if she's going to rest, she need to be in, and I need to know that so I can make sure I can voice this to the nurse, as the husband. So yeah, we got to get this information out. It has to, get out.
Sister Devonna, how many clients have you had up till this point? And do you provide? Oh, that is mine. Do you provide virtual assistance?
So yes, I do provide virtual assistance to clients. I would have to go back and check the amount of clients I have. I will tell you for the first, after I did a couple of clients back to back, but for 3.5, almost 3 years, I was doing student midwifery. So my clients were in the birth center. So I was doing like 10 to 15 births a month
Wow.
for
Wow.
almost 3 years. And I will say that it was such a blessing to be there in that birth center because so many people would ask for me. I had people come and say, "Are you done with midwifery? I want you to deliver my baby." Like
Mm,
there were so many who would say, "I love the way that you show up for people." Because I tell people the reason I'm in this work is because I always feel like I have a lot of love in my heart. And I also know what it means to be a mother without people to help you there. I've been alone a lot as a mother, had to like fend for myself because my husband was always working and other people wouldn't show up for me the way that I showed up for them in the past. And so that caused me to have like postpartum depression and stuff like that. So from my experience, I absolutely love being here because I'm able to pour out all that love that I wanted for myself in that moment, all of that support and all of that application into my clients. And so I do virtual work, but I also get people who just call me and be like, "Oh, I saw your story about your vaginal births." And I'll tell you that sometimes people say you should be charging for those consultations, but I can't because I'm like, I'll give you the information. And if you want me to be your doula, if you can afford to, then okay. But at least I helped you in the beginning, get you what you needed, just the information.
mm. Praise be to Allah. Well, we're reaching the hour. There's so much more questions I wanted to ask, but we're reaching the hour. We're at a point of our show where we want to go around and give our last comments, our closing comments. So we want to start. Well, Sister Akila, if you could start with your closing comments, and then we'll go to Sister Devana.
Okay. Oh man, I think her people and I was like, I wanted to say something to her. I don't know if you can still hear me, but it's loading.
Yes.
But okay, I was hoping Sister Devana could hear me, but I was going to say that I'm glad that she was able to tell me about. Okay, there she is. I was glad that she was able to tell me why she didn't advocate in that moment because it's funny. We have like birthing plans, and so when you have a doula, what you do with the doula is you come up with a birthing plan. And I'm gonna probably end up repeating it when she gets back on. But but the birthing plan, I assumed like when when the nurses kept saying, "No, you gotta get on your back, honey, you gotta turn, I just assumed that the reason, and I was telling them, Sister Devana, I'm glad that you told me that you were thinking about trauma and making sure that I didn't have to go through what you went through and have to deal with their drama. And so I'm grateful that you were in that headspace because I assumed like, you know what, I kind of beat myself up a little bit about that because I was like, man, I didn't put that in the birthing plan. And so that's probably why she didn't advocate for me to be able to stay that way, because usually when you do a birthing plan with a doula, you're very specific. And I didn't put that on there. I didn't say, "Oh, and I want to give birth on my knees no matter what. Don't let them turn me." I didn't say that. So I just assumed, like, well, you know what? I didn't say that. So I'm going to just end up having to bite this bullet and turn around because how would she know that that's something I really wanted unless I had said something? And I do believe, honestly, if I did say that, then she would have, probably told them, no, the plan is this. But I didn't put that in my plan. I don't even remember what was in my plan at this point. And that's another thing. A doula, they're going to remember what is in your plan so that they can advocate for you because you're not thinking about all those things. You might forget some stuff. I've heard that some people, they'll say in their plan, do not give me an epidural, but then when they get in the room, I want an epidural no matter what. So you have to have an advocate to remind you of what your plan is. And I didn't have, I guess, all the details but really written out. The only detail that I do know that I didn't want was an epidural. That was just the main thing. Just don't give me an epidural, and I don't want a C-section. I want a natural birth, unmedicated. That was it. But for those who are watching, if you do have a doula, make sure you are very specific in your birthing plan so that when the time comes, when things that you don't expect to happen start happening, your doula will know that this thing in particular is something that they really want. But you can't expect them to advocate for you in certain ways if you don't also speak up for yourself. And sometimes things do change in the moment, but just know, like, be as detailed as you can. And Sister Divana was an excellent doula. I felt so supported. My husband was, I know he was very happy that she was there, because we all need that type of support. And even if you are a mother or a sister or a friend, you can act as a doula for your family members and for your friends, if they might not be able to afford one or whatever the case may be. But try to always support in some way, or find some support for when you're having a baby, because nowadays it can get very dangerous, especially for Black women in those hospitals. You want as much help and advocacy as you possibly can. So again, thank you, Sister Divana, for being such a wonderful doula for me and my family. And now my daughter is 5 years old and thriving.
All praises
Praise
to Allah.
Praise the Lord. That says, Devon, before you give your closing remarks, can you tell our listeners how to reach you? And maybe when
Yes.
you can type it in.
Yes. You can reach me at Designed by the Divine Birth Services at gmail.com. Or just the quickest way is just to search for me at Mama Doula. So it's MAMAADOULA. So you could just search for me, and that'll bring up my business on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook at Designed by the Divine Birth Services as well. But
Wait,
that go ahead.
One more time. A little slow.
Okay. So I was putting it in the chat for you too.
Okay.
So I put it in there. So you can reach me on Instagram. The fastest way is Instagram at Mama Doula. It's MAMAA Doula, DOULA. So that's the fastest way. Just, that's where everybody mostly messages me, on Instagram.
Our engineer, look, he working. Our engineer working it out.
Did I put it in the chat wrong?
No, you put it in there right. We working with our engineer. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's not you.
Our engineer's on the brink of losing his job.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna get fired on live.
I'm like, hold on, I think I know how to use chat.
Live.
My apologies. I don't do the engineering work that much. My apologies.
Don't worry.
You got it?
No, I
got
don't. No, man.
Oh,
But let's see if we can copy it from the private chat. Hold on, let me see if I can just copy it. Yeah, there you go, right there.
all right.
I thought you was doing it, Jackie.
I was trying to do Mama Doula, but I couldn't keep up with her. She was going so fast for me.
Y'all,
all right, so we
Was
got
that it? Is that it right there?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I
Now
can do the job.
we
I can do the job.
We lost her.
Okay.
So that should be it. Okay.
So when she come back, she got final word, right?
Right. But go ahead, brother Carl. You can start your last words.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I'd like to thank you too for coming to the show. What y'all gave us today was something I've never heard before. I definitely didn't do it with use a doula with my children, and wow, I think it's something that we all got to at least entertain. And so just going forward, man, just keep telling this story. Keep telling this story here to as many people as you can. I see a lot of value in it, and so I look forward to the next show. That's what I got for you.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, go ahead, sis.
How does that look?
Let's see. Where's it? Okay.
You can see it.
No, I don't see it in there. Where do you see it at? Under chat or under comments?
It's like right on the page.
Right on the screen.
Right on the screen.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's correct. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So your final words, sister, if you don't mind.
A few closing words you said?
Yes, your closing words. Yes, ma'am.
I would just say that birth is one of the most important things that we really need to protect. It's something that we need to educate ourselves on, right? So if our community is not educated on birth, postpartum, and what a mother needs, then the maternal mortality rate that we're facing and the infant mortality rates and maternal mortality rates in the Black community and communities of color is so high. But the benefit of a doula could greatly reduce that, right? By education, by supports, and by just being there, showing people that you have someone. Women are dying from postpartum depression, taking their lives, taking their children's lives. So the importance of us safeguarding birth by preparing people, educating people, supporting people, and just doing all of this full circle will create a better future for the birth process in our community.
And before you go to the final word, Ahmed, I want to say we have a Lima, a new Reed. She strongly agree with you about laying on your back is not natural for childbirth. I just want to let you know that. And I know DJ Rockwell from the DJ Rockwell radio show. He says he has a million questions he would like to ask you. I was waiting on at least one, but just want to let you know I'm tuned in. So
maybe we'll have a part 3 on that.
So go carry on, sir.
Look for a phone call from Rockwell.
Yes, sir, brother Jackie.
Yes. Thank you both for coming on and sharing with us your experience, Sister Akilah, and the knowledge you have, Sister Devonna. Definitely. I mean, I have 6 children, and I still don't even know about contractions and whatnot. You mentioned that, and I'm like, wow. When you mentioned that, I'm like, wow. We are no good in that process sometimes.
You go stand out. What you stand outside the room?
Yeah, just go stand over there, brother. Sit in the corner right there. You don't know, man. But this was a great conversation. We need to push this out more to really save our community, because, like you said, the mortality rate is high. And we're losing mothers and the baby, either one. Sometimes you have to choose. You choose between the mother and the baby, and it's that shouldn't be the case. So definitely, it's important for a doula, midwife. These things are important, but for whatever reason, when it comes to my mind, it takes me back to the time before doing slavery and all, and you start thinking, comparing the two, and I'm like, no, that's not what it is. And so just being educated on it. So keep working, keep pushing it out. We're striving to do our part as Jock Brothers to get the information out to the people. Like and share this video. Just share this video and get it out, as much as possible. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for your story, Sister Akilah. Thank you for sharing with us, part of your life. So we thank you both for coming on.
Thank you, brother Jackie.
Thank you for having me.
I'd just like to just go off what they said and build on what they said. That thank you both for coming on. We have different shows, medical shows, but this was the first time we touched birth, and we're going to do more to get this information out there. Like next week, we're going to have midwives on. So you've thoroughly educated us as fathers, and you've thoroughly educated us to now go out, because once we learn, we have to now teach. So now we have to go out and give this information and promote this service and this help to the women in our family and also the men in our families. So thank you all for making us better, making us more educated.
That's right. That's right.
And thank you all for listening. Next week, we're going to speak to midwives. And please, Sister Divana, we may reach out to you again for more of this information. Thank you, Sister Kayla, for coming on.
Thank you, and I'm proud of y'all for having this topic.
Yes,
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Jock Nation, for tuning in. We see you next week. Same time.
Yeah, we got another show with Sister Keela. Don't worry.
You got a freestyle.
That's right. Praise Allah.